are the parts of the teachings that you find hospitable in the minds of your students, and what teachings do you find are challenging for your students?
Well, the concept of jihad, this idea that is there a justification in Islam to go out and kill people, that's a difficult concept, obviously, for people in this country to deal with. So I want to take it, straight on. And I do it by looking at how did the Prophet Muhammad actually fight. Most of the time, Muhammad was seeking alliances. He was persuading people through his moral message. And by the end of, he was 8 years in exile. At the end of that time, without any military victories, any sizable military victories, he came back to Mecca with 10,000 followers, and there was not a single drop of blood shed.
Do you believe there's this conflict between Islam and modern feminist ideology?
I would say, in my view, the answer would be no, because ultimately in all of the signs and ayahs and verses of the Quran, we are taught that despite which nation and tribe God created you from, despite what gender you are, in the end, the only thing you'll be judged for is your righteousness. That is the leveling force. Your submission to God, your duty to family and community is the first criteria. I don't see any of it at variance with women's rights or with feminism.
I wanted non-Muslims to appreciate the power of this journey and the universality of the journey, because all of us really in our faith quests are looking to know God better. We're looking to know who we are and what's our purpose in being here on planet Earth, and how can we improve our circumstances. And that's part of what this quest is about, and I think people could relate to that.
And how have you been able to take that powerful, optimistic, hopeful strength into an America post 9/11, which has had so many destructive misconceptions about Islam?
Well, I knew that one thing that I can do, and I learned from the tradition of my grandparents and people in the 60s, that when you're faced with adversity, the one thing not to do was to face it again with violence, that we could just take a step back, assess what's going on, and try to work to change that, work in whatever way you can. As the American Muslims and law enforcement officers, what we do, we started Girl Scout troops, for example, in Brooklyn. We've enrolled over 120 girls in Girl Scouting. Girl Scouting is about service to God and service to country. What better way than to be involved in Girl Scouting, to show American Muslim girls that this is their country and they own it just as much as anyone else. They have a duty to report terrorism. We taught them that. We spoke out at different masjids, letting people know if they were afraid to come forward, if they knew something, they can come to us, and then we would in turn report it. We've sponsored information fairs where Muslims within the Brooklyn community were put in contact with various government agencies, local, state, and city, and the services that these agencies provided. We sponsored basketball tournaments for children. We think that just interacting among each other will help to allay a lot of fears about Muslims, just through simple interaction. You don't necessarily have to sit and preach and teach people your doctrine, but by working with them on a daily basis, by them seeing you.
Yes,
that
I completely agree. I think the example of personal courage and kindness is what it takes to overcome prejudice. It's people saying, well, how could I be prejudiced against Muslims after 9/11 when I have a friend, so-and-so,
Exactly.
who I know is a decent person, who I know is a loving person, who I know loves America. I can't make that step. It was only those people and not Islam and not Muslims.
Exactly.
That's the key.
Right.
This idea that I love about Islam, that really the animals just have animal instincts. The angels have no animal instincts. They're more like God, and we're in between. And it's really a struggle, because our animal instincts for adultery, for greed, for murder, those are the instincts that draw us away from our spiritual nature. And I think Ramadan is one of the greatest creations of all world religions, because it is an entire month of great sacrifice that brings immense spirituality, tremendous sacrifice, and charitableness from Muslims. And I think it's one of the great creations of our Muslim brothers and sisters.
Yeah, fencing's been the driving force of my life. I was able to get a scholarship to college. I went to NYU, graduated with a BA in economics, and now I'm involved with an organization I'm very proud of. I'm the co-founder. It's called the Peter Westbrook Foundation.
Tell us about it.
It's a not-for-profit organization that utilizes fencing to enhance the lives of kids both academically as well as athletically. We meet every Saturday from 9 to 12. We have kids, boys and girls, in the program from 9 to 18. We provide free tutorial help. We give them the opportunity to fence. We provide all the equipment, essentially free. We're sponsored by various organizations, and I'm really proud of that. We put 3 people on the Olympic team in 2000. We're slated to put another 4 on the 2004 Olympic team. A lot of our kids are, college bound. We have students in Columbia, University of Pennsylvania, Harvard.
You know, when Tom and I first got together, people thought, well, it's very, very strange to have a Catholic station to have a rabbi on. And now, because of your tremendous help and because of the wonderful, wonderful people at the Islamic Center of Long Island, we now have a new direction in telecare that also expands the understanding of telecare and its service to the community, and that is the wonderful program called Our Muslim Neighbors. And let's talk about the program, and first of all, how it began and what ideas you had about helping people understand more about Islam.
Well, it was really Father Tom's initiative when he came and we had a little chat, and he said what he's watching on television isn't what he knows about the Muslims of Long Island. So let's put a real face on television. So it was really putting a face of the community on television. And during the last year or so, we've done a remarkable amount of work. We have had already 6 different segments done.
I know.
And the kids have been here, the adults have been here. We had a show on you and Father Tom came to the mosque, walked through the mosque, answered so many questions. And
yes, and we co-host every one of those sessions. And I tell you, I've studied Islam and I've learned a great deal, and it's been a wonderful experience. And first of all, I want to thank all of the people who have helped us. It's just wonderful people.
It's been a great experience for us. The staff here, Mike and Chris and everyone else, have been so supportive, so helpful. We felt at home.
That's wonderful. And, I felt the same thing when I first came here. I was a little unsure at the beginning. After all, it is a Catholic station. But because of Tom, really, and his vision, his inclusive vision, there's room here now for Jews and Muslims, and I'm just so thankful that he's been able to do this, and so thankful that I've been able to play a part, because obviously the tensions in the Middle East and the tensions in the war on terror have made it very difficult for the Muslim community, and what we really want to do is to help address the simple truth that the only way that prejudice can grow is out of the soil of ignorance.
Absolutely.
And once people know that Islam is a wonderful religion, once they know that their Muslim neighbors are their neighbors, they're boys and girls and men and women who want the very same thing that everyone wants, and who believe in a world of peace and justice, and who believe in the same God that we all believe in. And once everyone understands that, I really think that prejudice and discrimination will disappear.
Rabbi, the beauty of this United States is that you and I are sitting in a Catholic studio and talking about our commonalities. I mean, where else can this happen?
Nowhere.
Well, next, we meet another Long Islander known for keeping the faith as a physician, a teacher, and a spiritual leader in his Long Island community and around the world.
I'm so glad that Dr. Khan is being profiled, because not only as an American citizen or as a Muslim or as the president of the Islamic Center of Long Island, but just as a great individual. And he is a great role model for all people and all types of walks of life.
He was never just a doctor or just a community organizer or just a father. All those roles were always intertwined.
I've had firsthand opportunity to work with him and his trainees to see that he was a wonderful and inspiring teacher and an excellent clinician. And you know, he is a real physician who's made significant fundamental clinical research contributions to the field of pulmonary medicine.
Being the youngest, he was the favorite in the family. And my father and mother had a lot of affection for him, more than I think all of us, because he was the youngest.
When I came here in 1966, my wife and I had made a pact, basically, that we would get our training and return to Kashmir in 5 years. Well, now it's over 40 years. The question is, why didn't we go back? It was basically the political situation in Kashmir, which was responsible for our staying here, and staying here by choice. Because even my dad wrote to me, he says, don't come back, because the situation here is so bad that your talents will be wasted. Stay where you are, do good, and you'll be of great help to the larger community.
We have been married for over 38 years, and our marriage has been a very happy one. Farooq, you have been a very kind, caring, loving, and compassionate husband, and I thank you for that.
We join with the whole community in giving credit to Dr. Khan for his belief, for his heroism, and his leadership. Thank you for allowing us to be a part of your story.
God bless you.
Dr. Khan is a member of our college foundation and a dear friend. One who invited me to his home, of course with his wife, for a wonderful dinner upon my introduction to Long Island. I embrace him as a brother, and I salute him in his great work at lifting up the Muslim community and fostering better relationships between his community and all of us here on Long Island.
The faith I represent, which is the second largest in the world, is a faith of peace, which has been hijacked by extremists, and we want to bring back the message of moderation and tolerance and mutual respect. Living in North America, where there is so much miscommunication, misinformation about the Muslims, that it behooves us to go out and explain ourselves. And from that emerged a very strong outreach program that we have with synagogues, with churches, with multi-faith forum, and you name it. Whoever invites us, we go and present ourselves. The response has been very gratifying. And invariably what happens is when people come in and spend some time with us here, and they say that, gee, there's so much in common between us as individuals of different faiths, then there are differences. And so we try to stress on the commonalities of the faiths.
This center has been very warm, not only to me, but to all individuals who come here from all walks of life. Whether they be Muslims, whether they be non-Muslims, it doesn't make a difference. And that's the beauty of this community to me. The diversity, the outreach, it's just something that I think if every community could experience this, the world would be a lot better place to live.
So let's join hands and work towards the same goal. And he's made that possible. Where other people were skeptical of coming forward, he had no problem with that at all.
It saddens me when I go overseas and see the very poor image which our country has. You go to any part of the world, you'll know that Coca-Cola comes from the United States. But they will not know the greatness that exists in the United States. How so many different communities and societies and cultures are able to work through and live together in peace and harmony. This is a message which needs to go out to the rest of the world. So each one of us in our own ways can help get that message across. I do a fair amount of writing, I do a fair amount of traveling. I want to share what I have learned with as many people as I can. I want to help bring a lot of people and train them here and expose them to the great country that we have here and help them go back to the countries they come from, because United States, in my view, is the greatest country in the world. And we have a lot to offer, but we need to share it. We cannot be isolationist. We need to have a little broader vision of our society, and that will be beneficial for everyone.
Khan is one of those people who defy age. Now, he'll tell you that he doesn't have time to worry about that. He came to America as a young man to study medicine, and he never left. Lucky for us. Dr. Khan is a renowned pulmonologist, and he led the research team that discovered the drug Cipro. He raised his family right here on Long Island. At the same time, he helped raise a community in faith. As one of the founders of the Long Island Islamic Center, his life's work now is to build bridges across faiths and communities. And Dr. Farooq Khan, I am delighted to see you again.
It's a pleasure to see you again.
It's been a little while since we've talked. You've been traveling. We should tell people you're from Kashmir.
Right.
You've been home.
Yes.
It's your other home, your former home, and where in the Middle East and to do what?
I'm currently in Riyadh consulting and helping develop a research center at the King Fahd Medical City, which is a huge medical complex made of 4 hospitals and a medical school. And they asked me to come out and help them develop some recent new research initiatives.
In making those connections, now I know they see you as an American, which gives you an opportunity to hear a lot. Talk to me a little bit about the impressions you got from what they're thinking about us these days and the kinds of questions they're asking you in Riyadh.
Sadly, the perception about United States is, in my view, at an all-time low. And of course, the current issue of Iraq is on the minds of everybody.
And does it seem to have gotten larger over the last year in your travels?
Yes.
I mean, as even more pressure to talk about?
Yes, and what the common person is saying, how could a country as great as the United States be making such decisions which don't make any sense and creating more problems in the process? And our difficulty is we haven't been able to export our goodness, the softness, the great educational system that we have, the great healthcare we have.
What is the problem with our inability to do that? And you know, we love blaming the media. We love saying, oh, they're not telling the good story. So let's assume that that may be part of it. Are there other things that keep us from preventing to tell the good stories about us?
It basically boils down to our focus on the conflicts, the military conflicts, Israeli-Palestinian, Iraqi issue, and all the hot spots which seem to be concentrated in the Muslim world. And what the people are seeing is the military side of our effort, the guns, the airplanes, the bombardments, and that doesn't go too well. Because people say, you know, you tell us that you're coming here for this reason, but that's not the truth. The weapons of mass destruction and all that stuff.
It's very hard to have a conversation when there are guns as part of it physically. You were talking about Kashmir before we began this interview, and I asked how much it had changed, and you said the same thing. Now you see guns there.
Once you get this gun culture into the society, it turns everything upside down. The respect, the norms of society, and whoever has a gun calls the shots.
Do you have any sense of how we can begin to work our way out of this?
Yes. By taking some complex, unresolved issues and using our might and muscle in bringing the groups together and helping them come to a resolution of the problems.
A reinstitution of diplomacy?
That's usually what it's called, diplomacy rather than military muscle. We have tried for 4 years. We are worse off than we were 4 years ago.
Let's take the idea of talking to each other in diplomacy and transplant it and bring it home here to Long Island, to the New York area. And I said to you when you came into the studio today, oh, Dr. Khan, I saw your picture in the New York Times. I felt so proud. I said, I've met this man and loved talking to him. In that picture, you were meeting with the imam from
Harlem.
Yes, from Harlem. And it was on the heels of the dreadful, dreadful fire in the Bronx where some children from Mali